In just 89 seconds, $14.2 million in destruction orders. Jasmine Crockett didn't smile when she entered the chamber. She carried a classified USB drive and 3 sworn affidavits. Cameras caught the moment FBI Director Kash Patel's face went pale. The room froze as gasps rippled through Congress. What did Crockett reveal about destroyed evidence that made the most powerful law enforcement officer in America completely lose control? At exactly 2:17 p.m. on a gray Tuesday afternoon, the mahogany doors of the House Judiciary Committee chamber swung open with unusual force. The echo bounced off marble columns as reporters shifted in their seats, sensing something unprecedented was about to unfold. Representative Jasmine Crockett walked in like an investigator who had seen too many lies. Her burgundy blazer was immaculate, but her expression carried the weight of classified knowledge. In her left hand, she clutched a manila folder marked confidential. In her right, a small USB drive caught the overhead lights. FBI Director Kash Patel sat like a senator carved in ambition, his American flag pin gleaming under the committee room's harsh fluorescent lighting. His legal advisors flanked him, briefing folders arranged in perfect order. Press aides stationed behind the witness table. He adjusted his navy tie and glanced at his watch. The first open loop. Why was Crockett carrying classified materials into a public hearing? The second loop. What was on that USB drive that made her risk her political career? The third loop. How did a Congresswoman obtain FBI destruction orders that should have been buried forever? Director Patel, Crockett's voice cut through the chamber's tension like a blade. Are you familiar with Operation Black Book? Patel's jaw tightened slightly. Congresswoman, I'm not sure what. Let me be more specific. Crockett opened her folder with deliberate precision. Are you familiar with FBI Evidence Destruction Order 4A7-2019, signed on August 10, 2019, authorizing the elimination of 47 video files recovered from Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence? The chamber froze. Even the cameras stopped their usual mechanical whirring. Patel's hands, which had been resting confidently on the witness table, began to tremble almost imperceptibly. Congresswoman, that's classified. Not anymore. Crockett held up the USB drive because I have copies. At exactly 2:19 p.m., Twitter exploded. Crockett Exposes Truth began trending within 30 seconds. Fox News cut their regular programming. CNN broke into their afternoon broadcast with a breaking news banner. The flashback began in Crockett's mind as she stared at Patel's increasingly pale face. 3 weeks earlier, she had been in her Washington office, working late, when FBI whistleblower Maria Rodriguez knocked on her door. Rodriguez, a 20-year veteran of the Bureau's Digital Forensics Unit, carried a briefcase that would change everything. Congresswoman, Rodriguez had whispered, they made me delete everything, videos, financial records, communications, but I kept backup copies. I couldn't let those children's suffering be erased. The supporting character emerged from the gallery behind Crockett. Former FBI tech specialist Maria Rodriguez stood up slowly, her hands shaking as she prepared to corroborate everything Crockett was about to reveal. Rodriguez had risked her pension, her freedom, and her life to smuggle out evidence the Bureau wanted destroyed. Director Patel, Crockett continued, her voice steady and prosecutorial. According to this sworn affidavit from former FBI tech specialist Maria Rodriguez, you personally authorized the destruction of digital evidence that could have implicated high-ranking government officials in Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network. Media reaction montage. In newsrooms across America, producers scrambled to verify the explosive allegations. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow was already preparing her evening segment. Republican strategists texted frantically with damage control plans. Democratic leadership calculated the political earthquake unfolding in real time. That's completely false, Patel stammered. his usual composure cracking. The Congresswoman is making serious allegations without evidence? Crockett interrupted, sliding a document across the table. This is a bank transfer record showing $14.2 million moved from a DOJ discretionary fund to a private data destruction company called Quantum Secure Solutions on August 12th. The major revelation hit like a sledgehammer. Patel hadn't just destroyed evidence, he had paid millions to make it disappear completely. But Patel's counterattack came swift and brutal. Congresswoman Crockett, "You're playing with national security," he said, his voice gaining strength. "Those materials contained sensitive intelligence operations, ongoing investigations, and sources and methods that could compromise active agents worldwide." His legal team nodded approvingly, thinking their client was regaining control. "You're asking me to apologize for protecting American lives." Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler sensed the shift. "Director Patel, are you claiming the destroyed evidence was primarily intelligence-related rather than criminal evidence?" "Absolutely, Chairman. The Epstein case involved foreign intelligence services, blackmail operations targeting U.S. officials, and counterintelligence concerns that go to the highest levels." "Stop." Crockett's voice cut through his prepared talking points like a sword. "Director Patel, are you seriously going to sit there and claim that videos of children being sexually abused were destroyed for national security?" The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Patel's confidence evaporated instantly. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, visibly sweating despite his usual composure, leaned into his microphone. "Director Patel, are you telling this committee that you received direct pressure from sitting U.S. senators to destroy evidence?" The congressional betrayal vote was called within hours. By 4:30 p.m., 17 Republican House members had issued statements calling for Patel's immediate resignation. 3 Democrats who had initially supported Patel publicly withdrew their backing. Senator Ted Cruz, who had championed Patel's nomination just months earlier, released a scathing statement. "If these allegations are true, Director Patel has betrayed every principle the FBI stands for." Senator Lindsey Graham, appearing on Fox News at 6 p.m., declared, "This is not the man we confirmed. This is not the leader America deserves." The FBI director was politically isolated, abandoned by his own party in record time. Public reaction exploded across Washington, D.C. and New York with unprecedented fury. By evening, protesters gathered in Lafayette Square with signs reading, "Justice for Epstein victims," and "Patel must go." Times Square digital billboards flashed, "Van Patel, resign now." In Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami, spontaneous demonstrations erupted outside FBI field offices. Mothers held photos of missing children. Survivors of trafficking shared their stories on social media. The hashtag 89 Seconds of Truth became a rallying cry for victims' rights groups worldwide. Cable news networks provided wall-to-wall coverage. Anderson Cooper opened CNN's prime time with, "Good evening. In 89 seconds, this afternoon, the head of America's premier law enforcement agency admitted to destroying evidence of child sex trafficking to protect unnamed powerful officials." Fox News, despite their usual support for Trump appointees, led with Tucker Carlson saying, "Tonight, we're forced to ask, if the FBI destroys evidence to protect the elite, who protects our children, the stakes couldn't be higher." This wasn't just about one corrupt director, but about a system that protected powerful predators over vulnerable children. International media seized on the story as evidence of American governmental corruption. The BBC led their evening news with the scandal. French President Emmanuel Macron issued a statement calling for full transparency in this matter of global concern. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Trafficking announced an immediate inquiry into U.S. compliance with international anti-trafficking protocols. The avalanche of evidence began at exactly 2:21 p.m. when Crockett produced a printed email. An internal FBI communication from your own account, dated August 9, 2019, with the subject line, Priority Alpha, Epstein Material Containment. Should I read it aloud, Director, or would you like to explain why you wrote, quote, cannot allow certain materials to surface, national security implications severe, recommend immediate destruction protocol, end quote. The room erupted. Gasps rippled through Congress. Republican committee members shifted uncomfortably. Democrats leaned forward, sensing blood in the water. The head-to-head confrontation reached its breaking point when Patel's face went from pale to flushed in seconds. His fist slammed the witness table. I defended this nation's security. Silence. 8 seconds. Even the court stenographer stopped typing. By destroying evidence of child trafficking, Crockett's voice was ice cold. At 2:21 p.m., exactly 89 seconds after Crockett's opening question, Kash Patel completely snapped. He shot up from his chair, his voice echoing through the marble chamber. You don't understand the pressure. The calls from senators, from cabinet members. He stopped abruptly, realizing what he'd just admitted. The witnesses began to testify. Maria Rodriguez stepped forward with trembling hands. I personally witnessed Director Patel ordering the destruction of 47 video files, 2034 financial transaction records, and 89 encrypted communications between Jeffrey Epstein and high-ranking government officials. Former DOJ prosecutor Sarah Klein testified via video link. The evidence destroyed could have led to prosecutions of at least 12 prominent political figures, including sitting senators and cabinet members. Real-time collapse. By 10:25 p.m., Patel confesses was trending globally. News outlets around the world were broadcasting the clip of Patel's outburst on repeat. The FBI director's political career was imploding in real time. Patel began sobbing, not the controlled tears of a political performance, but the raw, broken sobs of a man whose carefully constructed world was collapsing. I didn't know about the girls, he whispered through tears. I swear on my daughter's life, I didn't know about those deaths. The immediate aftermath was swift and brutal. Press conferences erupted across Washington within hours. House Speaker Mike Johnson called an emergency session. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer demanded a DOJ investigation. FBI Deputy Director Sarah Martinez held an unprecedented press briefing, announcing the Bureau's full cooperation with congressional investigators. Character transformations were profound and permanent. Jasmine Crockett evolved from a junior congresswoman to a national hero overnight. Kash Patel transformed from America's top law enforcement officer to a disgraced federal employee facing potential criminal charges. Maria Rodriguez became the most protected whistleblower in FBI history, her courage inspiring dozens of other agents to come forward with evidence of corruption. Media summary dominated every network for weeks. The Epstein evidence destruction scandal became the biggest FBI controversy since Watergate. 3 congressional committees launched investigations. The Attorney General appointed a special prosecutor. International media covered the story as evidence of systematic American government corruption. But in her quiet reflection moment that night, sitting alone in her Washington, D.C. office, Jasmine Crockett stared at that USB drive. The weight of what had unfolded in 89 seconds was staggering. A government conspiracy, destroyed evidence, dead children, and a system that chose power over justice. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unlisted number. Congresswoman, you saved my life today. I was one of those girls. Thank you for not staying silent. The new mystery seed was planted in that very message. How many more survivors were out there? How deep did the conspiracy reach? And most importantly, whose names were on those destroyed files? Names that might never see justice because evidence had been incinerated for 14. 3 weeks later, Kash Patel resigned in disgrace. The destroyed evidence could never be recovered, but Crockett's revelation triggered the largest FBI internal investigation in decades. 12 agents were suspended, 7 DOJ officials resigned, and somewhere, the names on those destroyed files continued to sleep peacefully, protected by a system that chose power over children. The final mic drop line came from Crockett herself during her evening press conference. For 89 seconds, truth conquered power. For children everywhere, that has to be enough to start the real investigation. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a badge or a subpoena. It's truth, archived and revealed at the right second. What happens when a leader who built power on secrecy is undone by evidence? If patriotism can't survive transparency, was it ever real? The price of silence, it turned out, was 89 seconds of